Fact: the Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most critical maritime choke points for oil and natural gas. In this report, we separate what's confirmed from what's alleged and what it could mean. We examine the stakes for Oman, for Iran, for global energy flows, and for an already volatile waterway. Fact: on August 17, 2026, ABC News reported that President Donald Trump threatened Oman, saying the United States would bomb the shit out of them if Oman gets in the way of U.S. objectives regarding the Strait of Hormuz. ABC said the wording came from a Fox News written account of an interview with Fox correspondent Trey Yingst. ABC also reported that Iran's foreign ministry said Iran-Oman talks were continuing. Fact: The Hill reported the same attributed statement, explicitly noting that the journalist did not provide audio of the conversation. Fact: CBS News reported that August 17th marked the end of a 60-day U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding window, while no concrete peace agreement had been announced. CBS also covered separate remarks by President Trump about control through a blockade and about liking the idea of declaring the state U.S. territory. These are distinct comments and should not be blended with the reported threat toward Oman. Reported claim: the explicit threat to Oman, bomb the S out of them, is carried by ABC News, The Hill, and CBS News, citing a Fox News written account of an interview with Trey Yingst. The Hill reported the journalist did not provide audio. Before considering the implications, it's essential to understand why Oman features so centrally in a story about the Strait of Hormuz. Fact: ABC News reported that Oman is a longtime U.S. strategic partner and a traditional interlocutor in Middle Eastern negotiations. Fact: ABC News also reported that Iran and Oman had agreed on a navigation route, while the final text of an agreement was still being finalized. In parallel, The Hill reported that officials in Oman and Iran were working on new shipping lanes in the strait. At issue are more than lines on a chart. They are rules of the road for tankers, container ships, and liquefied natural gas carriers moving through the world's most watched sea lane. Fact: The Hill, citing the International Energy Agency, reported that approximately 34% of the world's crude oil transit passed through the Strait of Hormuz in 2025. Treat this as a reported estimate and attribute it to that source. Fact: the IEA reports that about 80% of oil and oil products transiting Hormuz in 2025 were destined for Asia, and that more than 110 billion cubic meters of liquefied natural gas passed through the strait. Fact: the U.S. Energy Information Administration identifies the Strait of Hormuz as a critical world oil transit choke point. The stakes resonate far beyond the Gulf. Energy markets respond to risk signals, and shipping insurers, port authorities, and multinational firms track the smallest change in operating conditions around Hormuz. Fact: CBS News reported that August 17th marked the end of a 60-day U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding window, while no concrete peace agreement had been announced. Reported claim: CBS also reported President Trump's separate comments, asserting that the United States had control through a blockade, and that he liked the idea of declaring the strait U.S. territory. These remarks were reported independently from the alleged threat toward Oman, and pertain to different aspects of the broader situation. In this environment, Oman's reported role, discussing navigation and working on shipping lanes with Iran, frames Muscat as both facilitator and participant. That duality amplifies the impact of any public threat directed at it. Reported claim: according to ABC News, The Hill, and CBS News, citing a Fox News written account of an interview with Trey Yingst, President Trump warned that the United States would bomb the shit out of them if Oman gets in the way of U.S. objectives concerning the Strait of Hormuz. Fact: The Hill noted that Yingst did not provide audio of the conversation. Consider, too, the object of the alleged threat: Oman, a long-standing U.S. partner, an acknowledged interlocutor, and, by multiple accounts, an active participant in shaping the navigation framework for the strait. Analysis: in diplomacy, threats serve several potential functions: deterrence, signaling resolve, creating leverage, or domestic political messaging. Applied to a mediating partner, however, such language complicates the mediator's credibility with other parties and can push a neutral actor to harden positions or seek alternative alignments. Analysis. For Iran, Oman's mediating role matters because it provides a channel that is not directly adversarial. Threats against Oman could be read in Tehran as attempts to fracture that channel, or as bluster to shore up U.S. negotiating posture. Either reading adds friction to a tense equation. There is a further maritime layer. The Hill reported that officials in Oman and Iran were working on new shipping lanes in the strait. ABC reported that Iran and Oman had agreed on a navigation map, with text still being finalized. If those arrangements are designed to reduce incidents and clarify routes, political escalations could delay implementation, raising uncertainty for shippers and insurers. Fact: the IEA states that in 2025, about 80% of oil and oil products transiting Hormuz were destined for Asia, and more than 110 billion cubic meters of LNG moved through the strait. Fact: the U.S. Energy Information Administration classifies the Strait of Hormuz as a critical choke point. This designation reflects the narrow geography, volume of throughput, and limited alternatives. The line between technical seamanship and high politics is thinner in the Strait of Hormuz than almost anywhere else on Earth. Fact: multiple U.S. news organizations, ABC News, The Hill, and CBS News, reported that President Trump threatened Oman in profane terms in the context of U.S. objectives for reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Reported claim: the alleged quote about bombing Oman is not backed by publicly released audio. It is reported through major outlets citing Fox News' written account. In fast-moving geopolitical stories, it is imperative to maintain distinctions among verified facts, reported claims, and reasonable, bounded analysis. Analysis. What should observers watch next? Fact: CBS News reported that security conditions around the strait remained volatile. That volatility is both a cause and a consequence of competing narratives, military postures, and diplomatic gambits. Analysis. Stability at Hormuz depends on pathways, literal and diplomatic. Clear shipping lanes, agreed traffic schemes, and functioning channels among rivals and mediators together reduce the odds that a misstep becomes a crisis. Reported claim: President Donald Trump was reported to have threatened to bomb the shit out of Oman if it obstructed U.S. objectives on the Strait of Hormuz. That allegation is carried by ABC News, The Hill, and CBS News, citing a Fox News written account of an interview. The Hill reported that no audio was provided. This story is developing. As reporting evolves, especially if audio or official transcripts emerge, the quote, the context, and the implications should be updated. We will continue to separate confirmed fact from reported claim, and to offer analysis that stays within the lines of